Call the meeting to order. It is 10 o'clock. I'm going to ask everybody to please mute your microphones and leave them muted except when you speak. You always remember to mute and unmute each time. Keep your cameras on at all time, please. This is our record of who is here and who is not. And we need that to verify our quorum throughout the entire meeting, not just the beginning. And please, this is hard to remember, I know, but every time you speak, please state your name first so that in the recording of this, we'll know who it is who's speaking. And let's move on to a roll call for quorum. Angelica?
Yes. Michael McDonald. Ronald Menard. Michael Olson. Rob Roy Parnell.
Here.
Kathy Ann Riley.
Here.
Stacy Brewer.
Present.
Kyle Hurley.
Here.
April Plorice.
Present.
And presiding officer John Rickert.
Present.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you very much. So first I'd like to introduce two new members, Mr. Kyle Hurley and Ms. April Plorice. Is that correct as pronunciation of those names?
Yes.
Well, welcome. Glad to have you with us. Thanks very much. And Mr. Hurley, I'll start with you. Could you just say a few words about yourself?
I am a project manager at an architectural firm in Dallas. I am also a 687 quadriplegic. I work with a lot of RAS people. I work with a lot of different people with accessibility and just an advocate at heart.
Great, thank you. And Ms. Plorice, would you say a few words about yourself?
Yes, I'm April Plorice. I've been legally blind, visually impaired my whole life. I have been doing advocacy specifically in the independent living network for the last 10 years throughout the state. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, item C of the agenda is open government training. So I'll turn this over to Assistant General Counsel Robert Reyes.
Thank you, Chair. Robert Reyes, Assistant General Counsel, here in the Office of General Counsel for Licensing and Regulatory Services. We're going to be, I'll be offering the open government training today for the board and those watching at home. Give me a moment here while I share my screen. Okay. Today we'll be covering 3 acts for today's open government training: the Open Meetings Act, the Administrative Procedure Act, and the Public Information Act. You can also find more detailed information regarding these acts in your meeting packet. First, the purpose of the Open Meetings Act is to ensure open and transparent government. We have meetings that are open to the public and are to be preceded by public notice. A quorum is a majority of a governmental body. This board has 9 members, therefore a quorum is 5. If less than a quorum meets, the board or committee may have discussion, but not take any official action. Deliberation means verbal or written exchange among a quorum of a governmental body. A meeting occurs anytime a quorum of a governmental body engages in deliberation regarding public business or public policy over which it has supervision or control, or any time the body takes formal action. Please note that a meeting can occur at any time and any place, including in social media. Concept of notice. Notice is date, time, place, and subject of each meeting held. We provide notice in the form of an agenda. We file this agenda on our website, department website, as well as with the Texas Secretary of State. A board or committee may not engage in discussions about a subject that is not included in the agenda. If it's not included in the agenda, no discussion or deliberation may take place. Board members will undoubtedly see each other at industry-related functions. However, you should not engage, even informally, in discussions concerning board business. That includes possible board business that you believe would be coming up in the short-term future. Members are free to engage in conversation that is incidental to the event. However, discussion will be subject to the Open Meetings Act if a quorum of members is involved. Key points to remember. We will review the concept of walking quorum now. Walking quorum occurs when fewer than a quorum of members engage in discussions about official business and then communicate those discussions to other members. As you can see, we started off with less than 5, for example, here for this board. But if the conversation grows to include others and becomes 6, 7, 8, or all 9 members, now we're walking into walking quorum territory here, which we do not want to do. An example of a walking quorum: on a 5-member advisory board, 2 members exchange phone calls and emails about an upcoming rule change, which is business before the board. Then one of those board members subsequently forwards the exchange to another 3rd member. Now, since we have a majority of board members in the discussion, we are now engaged in a walking quorum. Walking quorums can occur through conference calls, video conferences, hallway discussions, emails, text messages, and other new technologies such as the former Twitter, now X, Facebook, things of that nature, social media. Everything sent to you by department staff by email, if received, should be kept private with no external discussion between members of those correspondence. Work group discussions should remain within the work group to avoid the walking quorum. There's an agenda item today about work group assignments. So whatever work is done inside those work groups needs to stay inside those work groups, including the discussions held by those members within those particular work groups. Best practices to avoid walking quorum: meet in small groups, don't talk about official business by emails or text message or group texts or anything of that nature. Don't create posts about board business where a likelihood exists that a quorum of members could start to interact about that particular business, or ask a quorum what their thoughts are on a particular matter before the board, as that is called polling, and which is an informal vote and violation of the best practices. Guidelines for open sessions are here. Again, this information is in your packet. And additional best practices for open sessions. Again, limit discussions to specific agenda items contained in the posting, follow Secretary of State. Avoid allowing discussions to wander off course into tangential subject matters. Do not respond or discuss issues that are raised during public comment, but which are not on the agenda. That is important, as we will be having public comment here after my presentation. And specifically identify items for future agendas and communicate those items to TDLR staff. The clearer and more pointed the agenda is, the better we are able to stay on track and be in accordance and in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. There are civil remedies available if there is a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Specifically, an action that's taken in violation of the act is voidable, which means that we would have to go back through the process and redo it properly if there was a violation. Criminal penalties. If you violate the Open Meetings Act, you could expose yourself to criminal penalties, which include a fine of between $100 to $500, confinement in county jail for 1 to 6 months, or both the fine and jail time. Best practices: avoid communications that involve a quorum of board or committee members, and during meetings, confine discussions to items specifically posted on the agenda. Additional resources, these are found in your meeting packet. On to the Administrative Procedure Act. To define purposes of the Administrative Procedure Act, to establish minimum standards of uniform practice and procedure for state agencies, and also to provide for public participation and transparency during the rulemaking process. The definition of a rule: it implements, interprets, or prescribes law or policy, or it describes the procedure or practice requirements of a state agency. What a rule is not, a rule is not anything that involves only the internal management or organization of a state agency, which does not affect private rights or procedures. A rule can be a completely new rule, an amendment or change to an existing rule, or the repeal, which means total deletion of an existing rule. 5 sources for rulemaking. An interested person can bring a rule petition to petition for the adoption of a rule or revision or amendment of a rule, or a deletion of a rule. They have to be they have to meet one of these 4 categories. They must be either a Texas resident, a business in Texas, a governmental subdivision in Texas, or a public or private organization that is not a state agency but is located in Texas. This is the 12 steps for the rulemaking process that we have here at TDLR. You can see 2 advisory board meetings in this process, which are in blue. The first time is right before we publish proposed rules in the Texas Register for comment. The second time is before commission adoption. Every board member will have the opportunity to view rules that have been drafted for possible adoption. You will then be able to, once they are on an agenda, you'll be able to discuss them and vote on whether or not the process should move forward with that version of the rules. And then if something needs to be changed, we can either move forward in the process or back in the process. But as you see, there is a lot of transparency. We publish it in the Texas Register for the citizens of the state of Texas and those involved in the industry to read them, to let them know what is going on. And so it's a very lengthy process. That being said, the process may vary slightly based upon the circumstances at any given time. The rule review process: every 4 years, we are required to review the rules for adoption or readoption. If there's a statutory requirement to have rules, we need to decide if the program rules are necessary. Program rules continue to be necessary if the program exists or the legislature states rules need to exist for that particular program. Again, additional resources. These are also found in your materials. The last act we're going to cover today is the Public Information Act. It is intended to allow the public access to information about the affairs of the government and the official acts of public officials and employees. This act makes all documents, and this is very important, all documents, records, and other information relating to official business open to the public. This includes any electronic communication created, transmitted, received, or maintained on any device. That includes your personal cell phone or personal PDAs or anything that you use that is obviously not loaned to you by TDLR or the department, but that you have purchased yourself privately. The act is construed liberally in favor of granting requests for information. Again, I want to make this point very, very clear. Any communications about advisory board business could and possibly will subject your personal phone to and all its content to disclosure. So be very, very wary of having any sort of communications about board business with other or two other board members. Public request for information. As you see here, there is a 10-day turnaround that we in which we must respond. And to meet that quick 10-day turnaround, we need your immediate response to any questions we have of you. This is special for any request that you receive. Should you receive a request for information from anybody in the public or an industry member. While there is a presumption of openness and transparency in the release of public records, as examples include date of birth, most email addresses, driver's license numbers, VIN records, credit card numbers, and HIPAA information or anything related or under the Texas Medical Records Privacy Act. If you receive a request, it must be written. If it's written, then definitely forward that request to the advisory board team. So that is Angelica and Alex and Carmen, who will then forward it to our Office of General Counsel Open Records team. That's when the 10 days will start to run. Again, as I previously said, if you receive a question from that Open Records team, please respond as soon as possible, as that 10 business day deadline applies to all requests. Last set of resources. And that concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I can take those now. If not,
Okay,
thank you all for
hearing
your
no
time.
comments. Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Mr.
you, Chair.
Rickard, real quick, I just want to acknowledge that Mr. Menard is on. Mr. Menard, can you test your mic real quick? Sometimes just hitting your space bar may work.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Okay, so I want to acknowledge that Mr. Menard has made it. It's 10:20. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure he was acknowledged.
Okay,
Go ahead,
sorry
Mr.
for the
Rickard.
delay.
It's okay. You're here. That's what matters. All right, Mr. Rickard, you can keep. Mr. Rickard, you may continue.
Thanks. Welcome, Ron. Okay, let's move to item D, approval of the minutes. This is the minutes for the meeting of June 7th, 2023, the last meeting we had. And from board members, I will be looking for a motion to approve the minutes. Anybody want to make a motion?
Sure, why not? I'll make the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Kathy Riley, I approve the second.
Thanks. Motion by Ron Menard, second by Kathy and Riley to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2023. Angelica, would you please do a roll call vote?
Yes. Ronald Menard,
Aye.
Rob Parnell,
Aye.
Kathy Ann Riley,
Aye.
Stacy Brewer.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this, um, are we voting to approve the minutes?
Yes.
I was not, this is my first meeting, so I was not involved in that, so I that would not be appropriate for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keelan Hurley,
I was not at that meeting.
So Robert, in that situation, because I've seen people approve them in the past just because they read them and watched the video. Because that would also go for Mr. Paul Reese as well.
Then present, not voting.
Okay. April Paris,
I didn't have an opportunity to see it, and I was not there. So,
Okay.
would you say present, not voting, abstaining?
Yes, ma'am.
and presiding
you,
officer
sir.
John Rickard.
Aye.
Okay. So Robert, since we do not have enough, do those minutes not pass then?
They do not pass. We'll have a second vote, and we'll have a second vote at another meeting, and that'll give our board members who are now, our new members who are now on the board, an opportunity to view the video archive and to be prepared for a vote in our next meeting.
Sounds good.
And that'll be an agenda item for the next
Mhm.
meeting, which will be a vote on the last meeting's minutes.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. All right, Alec, are we ready to move on to public comment? Do we want to bring the people on
Yes.
board
Mhm.
of the lobby?
Yes. So there's a little script for you to go right there, Mr. Rickard, and you can call on the first one whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right, so the Elimination of Architectural Barriers Advisory Board received 15 emailed public comments for today's meeting. The advisory board also received 3 requests to speak during the meeting. Each person will have 3 minutes to give their public comment. And I want to emphasize the board will not be allowed to ask questions or discuss anything said. The purpose of this is to get the comment in the record, not to begin a debate. So let's start with Mr. Quimby. I'm looking to see if you're here. I'm not seeing.
Give us 1 second. Heather, can we move Mr. Quimby into the meeting, please?
Technical difficulties. That never happens.
He's there now, Mr. Rickard.
Okay, good, thank you. Mr. Quimby, thank you for being here. When you begin with your public comments, please begin by stating your name and who you represent to anybody. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please understand the board members are not allowed to ask any questions or engage in a discussion with you about anything that is not specified on the agenda. Do you understand these instructions?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, thank you. You have 3 minutes and you may start when ready.
Thank you, Chair and members of the board. My name is Brandon Quimby. I'm representing myself today. I appreciate the opportunity to address a pressing concern that has arisen out of the recent changes with TDLR and the Texas Architectural Barrier System. As you know, under the Elimination of Architecture Barriers Act and the 3-step process, which is registration, plan review, and inspection, is well established. On the 9th of September, TDLR updated its registration requirements so that when the building or facility owner is an LLC, LP, or LLP, the registration now requires additional owner information to be completed and updated. So while I do support these changes and the intent to improve the accuracy and the ownership is understandable, it appears the implementation has given rise to several unintended consequences I believe warrant your attention. One is the lack of clarity for LTDs or other non-LLC companies. The new instructions are not explicitly clear, and they do not cover the other entities, which leaves ambiguity if there is an entity with multiple names. Number two, the new changes have increased a backlog and inefficiency because the system now triggers extra documentation and verification for owners, and projects are being held up in registration are not closed in a timely process under the no violations or remediate violations process. In some cases, even CAD itself is not updated in the state system, creating a backlog. The avoidance of the registration by owners and designers. Anecdotally, we have seen that some owners and designers are choosing not to register projects anymore, delaying the registration because of the increased burden and uncertainty. If the registration is delayed or skipped, the ability to review and inspect the accessible features is now compromised. Because of these changes, there's also been a strain on closing out existing projects. Because these were registered under the old process, and when we submit a no violation form months after the inspection, they are now encountering delays because the new system is demanding new updated documentation. Although the implementation without clearly articulated purpose, we did not have a grace period with any of these changes. Again, I do accept these new changes, but consequently, many affected parties are left scrambling, all the while continuing to operate under the old registration burdens. I would like to respectfully offer some recommendations for considering an ease of these backlogs. One is to limit the new required documentation to newly project registrations only. The existing registration should continue under the prior standard unless ownership does change. Two, clarify the guidance for the other entity types. So provide a clear decision tree and checklist so all owners know what they need to upload. And three, track and publish performance metrics so the board and stakeholders can assess the impact and changes to make data-driven adjustments. So in conclusion, the change to the registration requirements to the LLC, LP, and LOP owners in the tab systems does demonstrate a laudable intent in improving the ownership transparency and to record accuracy. However, in practice, we're seeing unclear applicability, operational delays, unused registrations, and backlog pressures on all parties. I believe that adjusting the policy and to apply prospectively to new projects only, clarifying the guidance to other entity types, and managing the transition period would greatly improve the efficiency and fairness while preserving the integrity,
Mr.
the
Quimby, your
accessibility
time
of
is up.
registration.
I apologize.
Thank you, board. I appreciate your time.
Mr. Rickard, you're muted, sir.
You're right, I muted myself. Thank you.
You were doing what you were told.
All right, Mr. Kenzio, thank you also for being here. When you begin speaking, please state your name and who you represent. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please understand the board members are not allowed to ask any questions or engage in discussion with you about anything that is not specified on the agenda. Do you understand these instructions?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Great, thanks. You have 3 minutes, and please start when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard, and members of the board. I will make it brief, but my request is actually very, very important. I am Russ Kenzior. I'm representing myself as a registered accessibility specialist, as well as the National Floor Safety Institute, which is the nationally recognized consensus standards developing organization based in Hurst, Texas. It deals exclusively with slip, trip, and fall prevention. And my request comes down to a very simple but troubling issue, and that is regarding Section 302 of the TAS floor and ground surfaces. There's a mandated requirement, 302.1, that states that floor and ground surfaces shall be stable, firm, and slip resistant. That's a mandated requirement in terms of term slip resistant. However, the TAS does not define the term slip resistant. And so members, folks that are RASs like myself, have an impossible time trying to affirm compliance with the slip resistant requirement, given that there was no definition. There is some guidance that talks about the term slip resistant as one that provides sufficient frictional counterforce to the forces exerted in walking to permit safe ambulation. Frankly, that means nothing. That's right out of a college textbook. It's descriptive, but it's not prescriptive. So as a RAS, how do I go about assuring compliance with the TAS in terms of the mandated requirement that walkways be slip resistant, and that includes ramps and stairs, when in fact there's no definition? So my recommendation is to provide a definition for the term slip resistant in the TAS, and the definition should be one that is extracted from the only nationally recognized standard testing methodology, those published by the National Floor Safety Institute, whereby a RAS can go out and actually measure the slip resistance of a floor and to see if they are in fact in compliance with the TAS. And so my recommendation is to define the term slip resistant and to use as the definition, to extract the definition from the NFSI B101.1 or NFSI B101.3 wet coefficient of friction standards. One measures static friction, the other dynamic friction. And that way it brings clarity to the RAS community, but it also brings confidence that walkways are in fact in compliance with the mandated safety requirement of being slip resistant. Because it's impossible to look at a surface and tell whether or not it's slip resistant. It needs to be measurable. And with that, I conclude my comments.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move to Ms. Simicek. Thank you for being here. When you begin speaking, please state your name and who you represent. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please understand that the board members are not allowed to ask any questions or engage in a discussion with you about anything that is not specified on the agenda. Do you understand these instructions?
I do.
Great, thanks. You have 3 minutes, and please start when you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Megan Simicek, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Accessibility Professionals Association, specifically the Texas chapter. We'd like to address the rollout of the new forms and more broadly the way these ownership verification requirements have been implemented through tabs. On August 28th, TDLR emailed announcing the 2 new forms. The message said the new OAD form would be required starting November 1st, giving the impression that we would have time to receive training, educate owners, and provide feedback before the changes took effect. But less than 2 weeks later, on September 7th, major programming changes were made in tabs. An email update went out on September 9th with no advance notice, no training, and no time for preparation. RASA suddenly learned that any project owned by an LLC, PLLC, LP, LLP, or LTD could not even be registered without supporting ownership documentation, such as Secretary of State filings or articles of formation. The same requirements were also applied retroactively to existing projects. According to TDLR's own staff report submitted to this board, the new process requires RASs and staff to verify ownership and validity of the signers of documents. That statement makes it clear TDLR knows that RASs are being required to do ownership verification work, even while maintaining that it's the owner's responsibility. The staff report also says that TDLR is providing one-on-one trainings. While that may help a few individuals, it does not address the real issue. What's needed is consistent, comprehensive training for all RASs so that everyone receives the same information and understands the process. Right now, there's widespread confusion, frustration, and even fear among RASs about what to do and how to do it correctly. Many of us are making mistakes, not just because of carelessness, but because the expectations aren't clear. Some have made errors during CAD research or submitted the wrong documentation, and it's taking enormous amounts of time to correct. The compliance staff report cited the reason for this is an 11% inefficiency due to ownership errors. But the burden placed on RASs has created far more than an 11% inefficiency. RASs are spending hours researching ownership, rejecting incomplete forms, and walking owners through processes that we ourselves don't understand. The administrative workload has made it harder to focus on the work we're actually licensed to do, which is plan reviews and inspections, and that negatively impacts accessibility compliance in Texas. So today, the APA is respectfully asking the advisory board to review whether the TDLR and EAB have the administrative authority to informally shift ownership verification duties to RASs, and if that authority exists, to revise the process to make it more efficient, consistent, and fair. Specifically, we urge TDLR to take the ownership research burden off of RASs by not issuing a TABS number until someone at TDLR confirms that the submitted information is accurate, provide standardized statewide training, revise the LLO and OAD forms with input from RASs and other stakeholders, and delay enforcement of all of these improvements until all of these improvements are in place, and only apply it to projects registered after some future date. We do believe that this process was created with good intentions, but the way it was implemented has created unnecessary confusion and excessive inefficiency. RASs want to do our jobs well, and that means spending our time ensuring accessibility, not trying to enforce amorphic administrative tasks. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you very much for those comments. Okay, we're going to move ahead now to item F on the agenda, staff reports. The first report will be from the licensing division by Yvonne Lopez. Ms. Lopez?
Good morning, members. My name is Yvonne Lopez, Licensing Manager for Elimination of Architectural Barriers. The licensing report reflects the licensing statistics comparing the entirety of fiscal year 2025 to the first month of the current fiscal year 2026. You can see for the entirety of FY 2025, there were 40 new licenses issued to RASs, and so far in the first month of 2026, there have been 7 new licenses issued. Unfortunately, at this time, new license applications are not available for submission online. Moving on to the renewed licenses issued for the entirety of FY 2025, there were 506 licenses renewed. And for the first month of fiscal year 2026, there have been 32 RAS licenses renewed. Looking at the number of renewed online, that was implemented February 2nd of 2025. At the beginning of the fiscal year, a little over 37% of RASs had renewed online. I'm happy to see that that has increased for the first month to 56% of RASs that have renewed online. The total population in 2025 was 543 total RASs, and in 2026, as of September, there are 551 total RASs. So there was a little increase of 8 RASs. Eight either new RASs or 8 RASs who came back and renewed after their licenses had been expired. Going down to our email contacts for September in fiscal year 2025, which would have been September of 2024, we had received 2,514 emailed contacts. For September of 2025, we have received more than that. There was a 22% increase in contacts, that being 3,213 email contacts. They're not all RASs. My team does handle multiple programs, so it's all inclusive of all the programs that we handle. Going on to current projects, I want to reiterate the renewals went online for RASs February 22nd, and we're hopeful to see more RASs take advantage of the online renewals. Thank you to those who did participate in the testing to renew the online licenses that allowed us to quickly get those RAS renewals online for you all. And finally, the agency is currently involved in a project to develop a new licensing system called TDLR Core. The system is going to provide enhanced online services, which will include submission of online applications and renewals. Currently, as I mentioned earlier, online applications are not available for new RASs, so the hope is for that to be available in this new system. The self-service options will continue, such as updating information like phone number, email, mailing addresses, and uploading documents or completing required documents. As you know, we regulate a lot of professions, so the project will take several years to implement. Our program websites are going to be updated as each program is transitioned to the new system. We do encourage you to subscribe to our email notifications if you've not already done so, and we're very excited to be able to deliver a system with greater functionality, faster service, and a better user experience for everyone. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, let's move on. The next report will be from the Education and Examination Division, Ms. Simone Cortez.
Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Simone Cortez, and I'm a program specialist 3 on our exams team. I'll be presenting today's staff report for the Education Examination Division. Here we have shown our exam statistics for our registered accessibility specialists exam administered through PSI. Our first line represents our exams taken for fiscal year 2026, which only includes the month of September. And our second line demonstrates our total exam statistics for fiscal year 2025. This concludes my report. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, next is the Customer Service Division report by Ms. Myra Rodriguez.
Good morning, board members and TDLR staff. My name is Myra Rodriguez, and I am one of the managers that oversees this program for customer service. In the fiscal, can y'all hear me? Okay, thank you. And as you can see before you, we have these statistics for the first month of fiscal year 2026 with a total contacts of 398, 7 of those being emails, 391 being phone calls. In comparison to last year or last fiscal year's full year report, the contacts did go up by quite a bit. And this concludes my report. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, let's move to the Enforcement Division. Mr. Stuart Baggish, prosecutor.
Good morning, board members. My name is Stuart Baggish. I'm a prosecutor with the Enforcement Divisions. I will present the Enforcement Division's report to the committee today, focusing on key statistics and case highlights involving EAB prosecution cases. The report begins with the division's performance measures. You will notice that 135 cases have opened this year compared with 336 cases last year. The next section is the criminal history review for applicants who may have disqualifying criminal history. As you can see, 56 of the EAB applicants were reviewed for criminal history, of which none were denied or revoked based on their criminal history, just like last year. The next section details where the Enforcement Division's EAB complaints originated, whether from consumers or from within the department. 60 were from consumers as compared with 111 from TDLR. Below that is a pie graph depicting the number of cases opened from the complaints received just above. While the department as a whole has about 1/3 for each, the EAB program specifically is overwhelmingly departmental complaints, followed by just 16% originating from consumers, while merely 2% from criminal history review. In the orders issued section, we have 39 total orders this year, of which 21 were agreed orders and 18 were default orders. None were vacated orders, indicating there were no errors requiring correction. In the section entitled Cases Closed Without Disciplinary Action, it shows that we issued 70 warning letters and closed 29 other cases for insufficient evidence. Both of these are less than last year. In the section entitled Violations Resulting in Disciplinary Action, you can see that there are 36 cases where the owner failed to have a project inspected for compliance with the task standards within 1 year, 2 cases where the owner violated the task standards, and 1 non-payment of fees case. 2 cases are described in the case highlights, which are where we provide summaries for you to read at your convenience. That concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move to the report of the Compliance Division. Ms. Marcia Godot.
Good morning, everyone. This is Marcia Godot with the Compliance Division. I am the EAB Program Supervisor. On our report, we start off with some personnel updates. For those of you who have been around for a while, Miss Jenna Harris has moved to our combative sports program, and our new state lease coordinator will be Mr. Sean Twyman. leaving us currently with an opening in our compliance division. The statistical notes that I want to draw attention to would be that our projects continue to be registered even with the last 2 months of registration, the new registration requirements. We average around 2,000 projects every month being registered. Variances requests continue to come in, with the majority of those results being postponement. And our notices that we are issuing to owners, we have many of them and find several difficulties, whether it is returned mail or they respond back with they are not the owner, or that the project has been canceled and we were not updated. So we continue to issue those notices as well. Other projects that we are dealing with currently in the compliance division is we continue to update our Texas Architectural Barriers online system to try and be as efficient as possible with the program needs as well. And then we are all continuing to work on the update to the Texas accessibility standards to make them more clear as well. And we will hear a work group report a little bit later in this meeting. Our outreach efforts, we continue to provide Texas Accessibility Academies through hosted providers, as well as other opportunities to get the word out about the Elimination of Architectural Barriers program and the needs of accessibility throughout the state of Texas. I am here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. The last report will be an agency update from our General Counsel, Mr. Doug Jennings.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Doug Jennings. I'm the General Counsel for TDLR, the General Counsel for Licensing and Regulatory Services, which is a designation that we have now because of the movement of the Texas Lottery and Charitable Bingo to TDLR this past September 1st, pursuant to Senate Bill 3070. So that is the biggest headline for the agency right now. Just a little, I'll talk about that in just a moment. We just passed a big milestone here at TDLR. We now serve over 1 million licensees in the state of Texas. That was a number that was unfathomable probably a decade ago, and yet here we are. In fiscal year 25, the agency fielded more than 12,000 consumer complaints, and we conducted more than 7,000 investigations, and which resulted in at least, I think, a little over $800,000 in consumer restitution, in addition to administrative penalties and license sanctions. A minute ago, I mentioned the movement of lottery and charitable bingo to TDLR. So that happened pursuant to legislation from this last session. Just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea about the Texas Lottery and Texas Bingo and the efforts those programs fund. So in fiscal year 2025, the Texas Lottery generated $1.8 billion for the state of Texas, and that came from about $7.9 billion in total sales of lottery tickets and charitable bingo receipts. Where does that money go, you might ask? Well, here, let me tell you. Of those funds, nearly $1.8 billion was contributed to the Foundation School Fund, which is the fund that supports Texas public schools, teacher salaries, and school operations. And from those revenues, also a record of $31 million was provided to the Fund for Veterans Assistance to support grants for organizations that serve our veterans here in Texas and their families. A couple of other items that came out of the legislative session will be TDLR will be taking on 2 new regulatory programs in addition to lottery and bingo. Number one is residential solar retailers. So as you can imagine, those are the people that engage in sales of solar panels and solar systems to residential customers. And House Bill 4216 created regulation of delivery network companies. So you know that the rideshare companies, the transportation network companies like Uber and Lyft, they are licensed by TDLR. This will take those companies that you can think of, Favor, DoorDash, Grubhub, those type of businesses. They'll now be regulated by TDLR as well. And so those are the new programs that came to us this session. And lastly, just wanted to give you an update on our project we now call TDLR Core. Some of you, the new members may not have heard this, but some of your older members may know that at TDLR, as we have grown, we have taken on a number of legacy software and computing systems. This is our effort, TDLR Core, to create a new system that will consolidate all those legacy systems. So we're deep into the work there. The big goals of this, we're going to be able to transition to the digital way of doing business, like we've become accustomed to, and our customers have become accustomed to. It's going to be a 3-year project, and we've got many waves of implementation. We're in the first wave now. The agency is collaborating and working hard, and we hope to have some good results to report to you shortly. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item G on the agenda. This is the report for the Rules, Compliance, and Standards Work Group. And as a member of that work group, I will provide that report. The work group on Rules, Compliance, and Standards met 3 times this fall, September 3rd, September 17th, and October 8th. The board members who attended were me, John Rickard, and Rob Roy Purnell. And staff that attended those meetings were Marcia Godo, Robert Reyes, and Angelica Lopez-Sparks for 2 of the meetings. And then on the other meeting, Lada Montez, Jamie Hand, Sean Twyman, Jenna Harris, Jonathan Sparks, and Robert Reyes attended. On September 3rd, the items discussed were expansion of definitions. We kind of started at the beginning and worked our way through that. Verification of whether NCA 117.1 2021 edition needed to be incorporated into the Texas accessibility standards, and regain discussions on clarification of kitchens and the sink exception as they apply to kitchens in similar rooms. On September 17th, items discussed were further edits to the requirements for kitchens and expansion on the different assisted living facility types and the need for more details and requirements based on the services provided for assisted living facilities. On October 8th, further discussion was held on regarding assisted living and senior living facilities that are not licensed, both assisted living licensed and senior living that are not licensed. And so, I'm sorry, clarify that assisted living / senior living facilities that are licensed. So they might provide both, but they are licensed, and that they are not exempted from the rule. And then we began a discussion on clarification of toilet rooms versus toilet compartments and how those may apply in some situations. And discussions were begun on the possibility of including, I'm going to edit this report a little bit, and including toilet facilities in group shower and bathing rooms into the 50% exception if possible. That's the recommendations. Will continue. The Rules, Compliance, and Standards Work Group will continue its work on the edits of the Texas accessibility standards, including draft rules. The work group does not have any finalized recommendations to make at this time. Any questions from anybody? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the next item, item H, which is work group assignments and possible assignments of task. And I'll ask Angelica Lopez-Sparks to please take that.
Yes, sir. So we currently have 3 work groups. The Rules, Compliance, and Standards Work Group, which is what Mr. Rickard, I apologize, just went over, the Procedures Work Group and an Enforcement Work Group. So currently each one has a vacancy that we can assign possibly the new members to, since there's 3, Ms. Brewer, Ms. Clarice, and Mr. Hurley too. If they want to step up and be assigned to one of those. But we do need one for each one of those.
I'm happy to be assigned, Stacy Brewer.
Okay.
Can you explain the difference between, I generally understand rules, procedures, and enforcement, but could somebody explain in a little more detail what that comprises?
Marcia, Robert, I'm going to defer to one of you on some of these because they're very technical.
When it comes to, I'll speak about the rules first. The rules are basically what we're looking at under the Texas Administrative Code. and Section 68. So those are basically the rules for the industry and how they go through the process and any standards that must be followed while performing the tasks inside the industry, whether as any of our licensees will need to as applicable. In terms of enforcement is different. Stuart, Mr. Baggish here is here as an enforcement prosecutor. That will allow that work group will offer feedback to enforcement as to what they're hearing from any industry members as to the applicability from an enforcement standard of the rules or the program statute. So there is a difference. However, licensees can have an enforcement action applied to them either for a violation of the program statute, the program rules, or a violation of the Texas accessibility standards, which we are hoping to fold into the rules here later on next year.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Brewer, is there one that you would like to be assigned to?
It's probably most appropriate for me to engage in rules compliance.
Okay.
Although I'm happy to do any needed.
Mr. Rickard, are you okay with them picking the ones they want to be assigned to, or would you like to assign them?
No, I think if anybody has a particular interest in any of the work groups, that I'm delighted for them to kind of volunteer for the ones they're interested in.
Okay, so we still
If
have
multiple
one for.
people want the same one, we need to duke it out. We'll do that.
So for procedures, that one is to review and make recommendations regarding registered accessibility specialist procedures while looking at best practices from the business perspective. So that one, we have one opening, and then enforcement, Robert kind of gave an overview on that one. So April, would you like to be assigned to any? And don't feel obligated. And then also Mr. Hurley as well.
This is April speaking. I would like to be assigned to a work group. I understand the enforcement, and the other one you said that's from what perspective? I missed the last name.
Registered accessibility specialism.
But that's from the business perspective, you said?
Yes.
I'd be happy to serve on either. So if Mr. Hurley has a preference, he can override me, but I am interested in the enforcement.
Okay.
Sure.
I also wanted to say, Kyle, if you have, now that April has chosen, if you would prefer to take the one that I did, I'm happy to move it. Just want to be flexible.
No, that's fine. I can do that.
Okay. Alrighty. And I will send out an email with these updated work group assignments.
Great. Well,
Is
thank
it-
you, all three of you. Okay, we may remove. All right, next item is item I, recommendations for agenda items for next board meeting. Do any board members have any specific items you would like to be considered to be on the agenda for the next board meeting?
This is Robert Parnell. John, I would, based on the public comment that we heard today, as well as the reading of those 15 correspondence that were sent related to the new procedures that became effective September 1st, I would like to have some kind of update from staff on how they are trying to address those concerns. There seems to be a lot of commonality in the conversation. And so I'd like to have something from staff that talks about how we're addressing those concerns and how we're rectifying it and making it better.
Great, thanks. I think that's a good topic. That was the one on my list as well.
Well, this is Ron Menard. I would like to second that recommendation.
Thank you, Ron. Anything else? Any other items?
I am going to add the minutes from the June 7th meeting. And so, Mr. Hurley, Ms. Clarice, and Ms. Bird, I will email y'all the link to the last meeting and the minutes so that y'all can review the meeting and the minutes so that we can approve them at the next one.
Great. Yeah, thank you for remembering that. And I'll just note that you can also email Angelica at any time with any other suggestions you have. This is not our only shot at adding items. So if something else comes up, if you're like me, you won't think of it till tomorrow, right? Okay, next item is discussion, item J on the agenda is discussion of date, time, and location of the next board meeting. Angelica?
So I will poll the board for the next meeting. I'm sure Marcia and her group will be meeting with the rules work group a little bit more. So allow some time for them to meet.
Okay.
We will poll you, yes.
Do we have anything else? We covered everything? Not hearing anything. Okay, well, I think it's time to adjourn the meeting. It is 11:03 and we